Today, we're going to talk about a machine that absolutely dominated warfare for almost 2,000 years. It's really just a simple lever, but scaled up to truly monstrous proportions. A machine that could tear down castles, topple empires, and reshape the world. We're talking, of course, about the trebuchet. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of an ancient general. You got this massive army, and standing in your way is a fortress, a giant wall of stone. You can't climb it, you can't burn it, and your soldiers' swords are basically useless against it. So, what do? For centuries, this was the fundamental problem in warfare. And for those 2,000 years, the answer was, well, a machine, a terrifyingly effective machine that could launch massive rocks with enough force to turn those stone walls into nothing more than a pile of rubble. This wasn't just some crude weapon. It was a technological solution to an architectural problem. It was engineering designed to defeat engineering.
All right, so to really get why this thing was such a game changer, we have to understand the world it was born into. A world where a high, thick stone wall wasn't just another defense, it was basically the ultimate guarantee of survival.
You know, before these machines, sieges were just awful. A brutal, slow, miserable affair. You'd surround a city and just wait. Weeks, months, sometimes even years, until the people inside literally starved to death. Your greatest enemy wasn't their army, it was hunger. And it was out of that sheer desperation for a better way that a technological revolution was born. And this is where the story gets really fascinating. Because on completely opposite ends of the globe, two totally different answers to this exact same problem pop up at almost the same time. We're talking about two brilliant, completely independent inventions that kicked off an arms race that would last for centuries. Okay, so look at these two paths. They're so different. Over in 5th century BCE China, you get the traction trebuchet. The principle is simple. It's a giant lever. The power source, pure human muscle. You get dozens of guys to pull on ropes all at once and whoosh, the arm swings. But then, a century later in Greece, they invent the torsion catapult. This is all about physics. You use a winch to twist and twist these massive bundles of rope and animal sinew, storing up an insane amount of potential energy. One is about scaling up manpower. The other is about storing mechanical energy. It's a total fork in the road for military engineering. So once these ideas were out there, the race was officially on. From this point forward, it's just this constant back and forth. You build thicker castle walls? Okay, we're going to build a bigger, more powerful siege engine. It's the classic struggle between offense and defense, playing out over generations. Let's just follow the evolution in China for a second, because it's incredible. It starts out as a pretty simple fixed weapon used to defend walls. Then, the legendary general Cao Cao has this brilliant idea. Hey, what if we put this thing on wheels? And boom, you get the thunder cart, a mobile weapon of attack. By the Tang dynasty, these things are massive, standardized pieces of military hardware. But the real genius move comes during the Song dynasty, when they developed stronger arms and, more importantly, a totally new way to aim, which solved one of the machine's biggest weaknesses.
And this is it's pure genius. It's a tactical revolution. Think about it. Why would you put your most valuable, expensive weapon right out in the open where the enemy can shoot at it? Instead, you hide it behind a hill. You have a spotter up front who watches where the shot lands and then signals back corrections. It's basically the ancient world's version of modern artillery spotting. This was a massive leap forward, making the weapon way more accurate and keeping its crew safe.
But you know what? Everything we've talked about so far, that was just the warm-up act. The next evolution wasn't just a small improvement. It was a complete, fundamental change in how these machines were powered. And it created a weapon so powerful it would be the king of the battlefield for the next 300 years. And here it is, the final form, the counterweight trebuchet. This was the absolute game changer. The big idea? Take the humans out of the equation. You get rid of the chaotic, unreliable pulling crew and replace them with a giant box filled with tons of rock. Why does that matter? Because gravity is perfect. Gravity is consistent. It's the same every single time. This meant every shot was repeatable, reliable, and unbelievably powerful. They had figured out how to weaponize gravity itself. And the power these things could generate was just staggering. We're talking about hurling projectiles that weigh 150 kilograms. That's like taking two grown men and launching them hundreds of meters through the air. Now imagine that force, that mass, slamming into a stone wall, and because of the counterweight, hitting the exact same spot over and over and over again. Nothing could stand up to that.
And if you want the ultimate proof of just how dominant this weapon was, we have to go to the Mongol siege of Xiangyang in 1273. Here you have the Mongols, maybe the greatest conquering army in history, and they are completely stuck. For 5 long years, they cannot break this one fortress. They had the manpower, but they just couldn't solve the problem of the walls. So they decided to bring in some outside help.
So they brought in Persian engineers who built these new, terrifying counterweight trebuchets. Now, the Chinese defenders, they had seen trebuchets before, but nothing like this. This quote from the historical record says it all. Its sound shook heaven and earth, and everything it hit was destroyed. Can you imagine? It wasn't just the physical destruction, it was the psychological shock. The sheer terror of this new weapon that they couldn't possibly fight back against. It broke their will to fight. And just like that, the 5-year siege was over.
The fall of Xiangyang is the perfect case study. It shows that the trebuchet didn't just win battles. It literally changed the course of history. Its impact went so far beyond the battlefield, it actually started reshaping the very structure of society.
I mean, just think about the domino effect here. All of a sudden, your old castle design is completely useless. So what happens? An architectural arms race begins to build bigger, thicker, more complex fortifications. And who's going to build and operate these new superweapons? Not just any soldier. You need a whole new professional class of military engineers, people who are masters of math and physics. And that practical need for better weapons actually spurred scientific discovery. For empires like the Mongols, this tech was literally the key that unlocked the world for them. For 300 years, the trebuchet was the undisputed king, a reign that only came to an end with the invention of gunpowder.
So when you boil it all down, the story of the trebuchet is this epic 2,000-year-long cycle. You've got a problem, the unbreachable wall. And you've got a solution, a machine born from pure human ingenuity designed to smash it to pieces. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the unbreachable walls that we face today? And what terrifyingly clever levers are we building right now to tear them down?